You aren't day parting in 2025, then you're likely just overspending and underutilizing Amazon's tools for your advertising. This is something I see constantly going in and out of different types of campaigns and also just people's own entire advertising channels. They aren't day parting for some reason. And this is a super common thing where people just don't understand how day parting can be best utilized for exactly their brand. So, what we're going to do a little walkthrough showing exactly how you should be going about day parting, as well as what reports you should be looking at to even understand where you should be day parting when you currently aren't. So, first and foremost, come on over into your advertising console to look at your campaign manager. First place is where do you actually look at campaigns. That would just be to click on any of the campaigns that you currently have. I have one open right here. You're going to come on over once you're in the campaign to budget rules, and you are going to add budget rule. So this will pull up just this screen for adding a budget rule. And a couple of things to first and foremost note is that when you are looking at doing day parting on Amazon, you cannot actually do it from a bid perspective. You can only do it from a budget perspective. We have a couple of different things down here. We have our budget increase. So on day parting on Amazon, you can't actually decrease your budget. You can only increase your budget during specific hours. So what you need to typically do is have your budget be much lower for the entirety of the day, but then choose hours of the day. I typically like to do a start time and end time when my budget is increased so that those are the only hours during the day in which you're going to be increasing. Now, that's if you're going to be doing a schedule for your actual bid type or budget increase. You can also do this based on performance. If you are trying to essentially reach a certain ACoS, click-through rate, conversion rate, or ROAS, you can do that down here where you do either less than, equal to, greater than, or equal to, greater than. What I would say is typically try and stay away from the performance metric, as you're likely going to be leaving a lot of sales on the table for anything like this. I do like it for ACoS is less than or equal to. So if you're trying to hit a very specific ACoS on a campaign, especially if you're doing some long tail keyword testing or some very broad match where you're not too sure on if you have the right negations yet, performance metric is something that can be really useful for you. So increasing the budget unless you hit a specific ACoS or a specific click-through rate or conversion rate is not necessarily the worst idea in the world. Again, you should have this very minimal on what you should be doing from a performance perspective. Now, what we're going to be focusing on, though, is the scheduling type. So the scheduling type, I like to do hours of the day rather than all day long. You can do all day long, and the only times I would say doing all day long would be for custom date ranges. So you can do things like events, the big spring sale. So we know the big spring sale or prime days, spring prime days are going to be typically more clicks at the end of the day, so you're probably going to need to have a little bit higher of a budget. This is type of situation where performance might be best, where you can do something where you have the events for the big spring sale, then you have your ACoS is less than or equal to whatever your max ACoS is. So let's say your max ACoS is 60%. We can have a budget increase for, let's say, 500% of our total budget, as long as our ACoS is sitting below this 60% threshold. So we will be saying, let's say we have a $100 budget normally, we would instead have a $500 or $600 budget, technically speaking, a 500% increase in budget. Now, this is really useful for only really events, again, as I was saying, because it really helps you with these times when there's going to be a lot of extra people on, clicking, going through, but you don't necessarily end up sacrificing your performance or your metrics at the end of the day. And as soon as you hit this number, your budget's going to go right back to where it was, and you're not going to be going over budget in any way, shape, or form. So super useful for things like events. But from a regular day-to-day perspective, I like the schedule and I like to choose hours. Now, how do you actually choose which hours you should be going for? Let's dig into that. If we come back on over here to the campaign, come over here to the left side, you'll go to measurement and reporting. Then you're going to go to sponsored ads reports. We can click on this and go to create a report, and it'll come up with the configuration that we're going to be looking for the report. So in this scenario, we're actually going to be looking at a campaign report, and you can also look at a budget report. Now, specifically when we're looking at things such as the overall use case for something like day parting, campaign is going to be best. You can get your campaign report, and this allows you to break it down even into an hourly perspective. You can see the report period, so we can change this all the way up and down however we need. But that being said, hourly reporting for your time unit here when you're actually getting the report together. So we're going to run the report now. And this report will take just a second to actually get through. And with a little bit of editing magic, we now have these downloaded. I will let you guys know that these type of reports do take quite the long time to actually download, but I have mine downloaded now, and I can actually come back over here, open this up. Something that I like to do right away is I'm looking at specific types of campaigns. So first and foremost, let's, rather than look at automatic targeting, only look at our manual targeting for any type of campaign. And then on top of that, we're going to be looking at specific types of campaigns. So we're going to be taking out, and again, we're only at sponsored products. So let's say we only want to look at select all. Let's just look at one phrase campaign here. Now, this phrase campaign, we can now just essentially break down and understand when is it that people are actually looking at this campaign. And again, this is single keyword campaign. So not too worried about seeing a bunch of these zeros. But that being said, you have to look essentially at what each of these days are looking like. So you'll see the time breakdown here for the actual hours, and then you'll see the date breakdown here. So it breaks down for the specific time and then the date over here as well. As you can see here with the actual time, you can start to understand when is it that people are actually purchasing this product. You can see also some giant breaks in time. So for instance, you'll see at 3 a.m. on pretty much every single day to 4 a.m., we're really not getting anything from a sales volume perspective or a spend perspective. So we're not seeing much of anything from 3 to 4 a.m. There are some that are doing it here in some days, but typically speaking, around 4 a.m. seems to be our really lull time. So this is exactly where you could be looking at implementing Dayparting for all times except for 4 a.m. Again, same thing that you should be looking at when you're coming down to this is where you're actually getting your clicks, your impressions, what you're spending, and then also what you're getting from a sales perspective. Because that's what really matters when it comes to Dayparting. If you are spending money at specific hours of the day, but not seeing any sales from it. So a great example here would be if we're looking at 5 a.m. So 5 a.m. across the board for the last 2 weeks or so, you can see here, we have been spending not a ton, but we're not getting anything as far as the sales perspective goes. Same thing if we're looking over here at 6 a.m., same exact principle. So when you're deciding what to actually be doing from a Dayparting perspective, you need to be looking at your hourlies, and you need to understand when is it that you are spending money on your campaigns and not getting any sales volume out of it. This is exactly what you should be looking at, because this will tell you where you can cut down the cost of your budget the most during specific hours of the day. So hopefully this was super insightful for you guys. If you have any questions about it, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you like videos like this, give us a thumbs up, and then also subscribe to our channel. We'll come out with more content like this all the time.